Mario, king of 3D platformers, 2D platformers, racing games, party games, puzzle games, sporting games, dancing games, educational games, painting games, and even the occasional RPG.
Okay, so maybe calling Mario the king of RPGs is massively wide of the mark. I can think of many fans of many different RPG series who would be sharpening a wide assortment of fancy weapons, but Mario has still been able to contribute to the extensive library of RPGs out there. Whether it's because Mario is famous for other things, or because the general nature of Mario games leave themselves open to not take themselves too seriously, but the way that Mario approaches RPGs almost feels like a parody of your conventional role-playing game. I mean, it isn't really because it still takes parts very seriously, but it also takes other parts anything but. In some ways it helps to find them apart from other similar games, and that may be, if it wasn't a topic that was voted on, why I'm talking about them today. As if I'd know that.
I imagine there was a conversation at Nintendo around sort of the early 90s about making an RPG with Mario characters. It's probably some crazy dream by Shigeru Miyamoto, and I'm sure there were complications and lots of discussions, but the only thing I want to know is, how many people laughed?
I don't want to say that you can tell Super Mario RPG was made as a technical exercise, because it makes it sound like it's an incomplete game, just a bundle of ideas thrown together in the form of an SNES cartridge. If anything, it lacked a bit of identity straight away, hence why it doesn't fall into either of the Paper Mario or Mario and Luigi series. But what it did do was borderline groundbreaking for Mario RPGs. It took a long while before it swam the necessary oceans to get over to Europe, but my word, it's worth the wait. In a market that was heavily saturated with top-down RPGs in the mid-90s, Super Mario RPG strode into town boasting pseudo 3D graphics and an isometric camera angle and blew people out of their seats, straight down to the shops, frothing at the mouth and throwing their money at whatever takes it. Nintendo and Square made a dream team rarely seen due to lots of reasons, and the end result is a charming RPG that laid the foundation for Mario RPGs to come. Showed it was possible. And the Forest Maze is the catchiest piece of video game music you'll ever hear. Just how much innovation can you impose on an RPG? The Mario equivalents are always very tongue-in-cheek in this unusual blend of serious at points and stupid, in a good way, at others. But what can you actually change about this kind of game that keeps the series exciting? Well, if you're really out of ideas, I guess you could take most of the RPG-ness out of it. I'm sure that won't annoy anyone. Super Paper Mario is a weird game in a library of spin-off games that do some weird shit on a daily basis. All the usual magic is there, but the turn-based combat flew out the window a long time ago, replaced by what you'd perhaps expect from a normal Mario game, jumping on whatever enemies happen to be in your way. I mean, it only just qualifies as an RPG, and doesn't change much else about the series. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up to preference, but it really takes advantage of being more of a platformer than previous Paper Mario games. And the other games always had a bit of platforming, but they didn't let you turn a 2D game into a 3D game for the occasional bit of hidden away content. It pushed boundaries where it could.
The Mario RPGs don't take themselves too seriously, but Super Paper Mario in particular has a more emotional storyline than the other games. I mean, it might come off as a bit of a clash of styles, but it adds this extra level of hidden depth, and I like that in games. It's hardly a bad thing.
If you do one thing, never underestimate the draw of a handheld game. Yes, they're held back by stricter technical restraints than consoles, and yes, they can't compare to the battery life, so to speak, of a console, but you can take them everywhere. In the back of a car, on the daily commute, even halfway up Mount Everest. Keep enough batteries with you and you can experience the wonders of Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga wherever you damn well please.
Some genres really benefit from being on a handheld. My favourite's always been Animal Crossing style games, where you can take this whole village on holiday with you, or on a bus or something, and it allows you to be engrossed with this adventure wherever you go, and that is pretty friggin' priceless.
Sticking a Mario RPG on a handheld is one hell of a game changer for what was still a bit of a fledgling foray into combining Mario and one of the more complicated game genres out there. And you know what? Not only does this work incredibly well, but it actually turns out to be a really simple RPG to get to grips with. The plot is relatively straightforward, at least considering the benchmark for your standard role-playing game, and it's all doused in lashes of hilarious dialogue and unpredictability. You end up with this quirky little RPG that doesn't take itself too seriously and welcomes newcomers to the genre. And if that still doesn't grab you, spend some time flicking through anything and everything that comes out of the mouth of Thorful. If you're not entertained, it's probably just your fault. I feel like I'm serialising the history of a Mario RPG because just like that, we arrive at the GameCube and with Paper Mario the Thousand-Year Door. A game that perfectly combines the joy found in a Mario game with the comparatively heavier depth of an RPG, where things can get decidedly more serious as you progress through the game, but all as part of a Mario game. And it's fucking beautiful. The biggest thing that immediately stands out for me with Thousand-Year Door is the change of locations. No more chilling out in the Mushroom Kingdom. Welcome to Rogueport, where the sea is blue and the townsfolk are all arseholes. It's a comfort zone thing, much like making a Mario RPG in the first place. The courage to go to new places and try new things. There isn't actually that much of a change in the 3 or so years since the first Paper Mario game, but sticking it on the GameCube means you can sharpen up the basics that the previous game tried out. Throw around some new abilities that suit the general theme of the game, and you're taking the concept of a game with 2D characters and 3D environments to greater heights. And like Superstar Saga, you can pick it up, understand the ins and outs of the game, and become captivated in double quick time.
Each chapter in Thousand-Year Door tries something completely new with the game, and you end up with some chapters which you absolutely love, they become your favourite in the game, but also some chapters which are close to unbearable. And when the other option is to just make all the chapters the same level, the same kind of game all the way through, that's just not as interesting, and it wouldn't generate as much discussion.
So after all of that, you'd have to imagine there's a game that gets everything right. Being able to combine every great aspect of each previous Mario RPG while leaving the complications to one side. And if you can make it a handheld too, that'd be great, Nintendo. Just something to think about. Oh god, it's wonderful!
I mentioned something in a previous top 5 about how by 2009, you should have a pretty good idea where you want to take the concept of a Mario RPG, where you've had previous games in the series and had some bad things, some good things, iron out the bad things, keep the good things, and what you end up with is a perfect scenario for an amazing game. And it was an opportunity that was well and truly seized by Bowser's Inside Story.
They had the preparation, and when the time came, good lord, they didn't disappoint. Take the battle mechanics from Superstar Saga, take the graphical capabilities and intertwining storyline from Thousand-Year Door, and take a sprinkle of the emotional side of Super Paper Mario, and you have a game that stands apart from any other Mario RPG, while still breaking boundaries on its own. Wanna play as Bowser? Sure, have all the Bowser you can handle. Wanna beat up a castle? It'd be a missed opportunity not to. Wanna be entertained from start to finish thanks to the game's intense focus on what you're supposed to be doing and never really deviating into unnecessary padding? Piece of goddamn tasty cake! Bowser's Inside Story, you're doing the world proud. And because this game apparently needed a trump card, it also shows the world the best that Thorful has to offer. I mean, yes, the little guy was hysterical in Superstar Saga as a secondary antagonist, but in Bowser's Inside Story, he takes center stage and comes alive. It's like Skyward Sword getting a sequel. Oh god. And Girahim becoming the main bad guy. You can just see how much fun he's having as you slowly drown in the vast quantity of unbelievable dialogue that comes out of his mouth. If nothing else makes an impression on you with Bowser's Inside Story, I guarantee that Thorful will.
This has been RabbidLuigi, and alongside Xenoblade Chronicles and maybe one or both of the Portal games, Bowser's Inside Story is one of the very few games which I find really hard to find major faults with. It's maybe the one Mario RPG that can stake a genuine claim to be one of the best JRPGs ever made. When Thorful's first quote in the game is "A winner is you," you just know you're gonna have a fun time.
What topic do you want to see on the next top 5? Leave a suggestion in the comments below and follow me on Twitter, or I'll be taking my favourite suggestions and putting them to a vote over there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, how we doing? Did think about this topic around the time of last year's Mario Month, but it did get ousted for something else, so I'm glad that someone suggested it and enough people voted for it this week. Next week is a top 10 of course, the topic of which has been given to a top 5 topic that kept coming second in the votes. Be sure to watch out for it next Sunday. And if you want to hear my opinion on menial things that don't actually matter, My Twitter and Facebook are the places to be. I say a lot of pointless shit over there.